The backyard was strung with soft lights that glowed like fireflies at dusk. Folding chairs formed neat rows, facing a wooden arch wrapped in white roses and eucalyptus. Laughter floated through the warm summer air, mixing with the smell of barbecue and jasmine. It wasn't a grand wedding, not expensive, not extravagant, but it was joyful. It was built out of love, not money. Malik Carter, the groom, stood near the arch, adjusting his navy tie. His hands were steady, but the slight upward curve at the corner of his mouth betrayed how deeply he felt the moment. Malik wasn't a man who spoke loudly. He was quiet strength, the kind of person who listened before he spoke, who helped without announcing it. He worked as a community youth counselor, mentoring kids who were just trying to find a way to stand in a world that didn't always make space for them. Today, though, he wasn't a mentor or a role model or anyone's guide. He was simply a man marrying the woman he loved. Across the lawn, Ava, his bride, laughed with her sister, veil pinned, bouquet cradled, joy glowing from her like sunlight. When she looked at Malik, her whole expression changed, softening into something safe, familiar, promised. The crowd was mostly family and close friends, neighbors, cousins, church members, co-workers. Kids in tiny shoes chased each other around the grassy yard. Music hummed from a speaker, a gentle R&B instrumental meant not to draw attention, only to support the mood like a heartbeat. It should have been simple. It should have been perfect. But the house next door had other ideas. Karen Whitlock had lived in that neighborhood for 27 years and believed it was her duty to maintain standards. She had introduced herself to Malik and Ava when they moved in. Polite smile, cold eyes, scanning their clothes, their car, the way Malik held himself. She had asked what they did for work in that tone that wasn't curiosity, it was classification. She had watched their wedding preparations for days. The decorations, the tables, the guests. Many black, some brown, some white, music, laughter. And she decided without speaking to them, without asking, without learning anything at all. People like that don't belong here like this. So while Malik straightened his tie and Ava adjusted her veil, Karen stood in her kitchen dialing the number she believed she had every right to call. Hello? Yes. I'd like to report a disturbance. There's a large gathering at the house next to mine. It's getting very loud. Yes, I'm concerned. No, I don't feel comfortable approaching them myself. She hung up with a satisfied exhale, convinced she was protecting her peace. 20 minutes later, just as Ava's father stepped forward to walk her down the aisle, the music paused because the air changed. Conversation dimmed. Heads turned. Two police officers walked through the open gate. A ripple moved through the crowd. Confusion first, then tension, then the quiet, heavy silence that comes from too many memories resurfacing at once. Ava froze mid-step. Malik reached for her hand, grounding her instantly. One of the officers spoke carefully, not aggressive, but stiff, the way officers are when they know every eye is watching. We received a noise complaint from a neighbor. Are you the homeowner? Malik didn't raise his voice, didn't stiffen, didn't shrink. Yes, he said simply. This is my home, and this is our wedding. A few guests murmured. The other officer glanced at his partner. This was not what they expected to walk into. Karen had stepped outside now, arms crossed, pretending to act surprised. Oh, officers, I didn't mean to interrupt anything, I just thought. But Malik turned toward her, not angry, not humiliated, simply steady. Please stay, he said. The request stunned her. Everyone froze. Ava looked at Malik, trusting him even now. The entire wedding waited, because no one knew what Malik was about to say. Not even him. He just knew. This moment mattered, and not just for him, for everyone watching. Malik stepped forward, not letting go of Ava's hand. The police officers stood still, unsure whether they needed to intervene or simply listen. Guests remained seated, almost holding their breaths. Even the children stopped moving, sensing something larger than them had entered the air. Karen shifted uneasily, arms crossed tight. She had expected confrontation, anger, raised voices, accusations. That was what she was prepared to handle. That was what she understood. But Malik didn't look angry. He looked steady, unshaken. The kind of calm that is not silence, but control. He faced the officers first, offering courtesy that was neither submissive nor performative. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I know you're just responding to a call. You can see this is a wedding. Our ceremony's almost over. You're welcome to stay and watch, or you can leave. We'll keep the volume respectful." The younger officer's posture softened. The older one nodded once, professional but human. "Yes, sir," he said quietly. "We'll stay nearby in case you need anything. Congratulations to both of you." He stepped back. No escalation, no suspicion, no control. Just acknowledgement. But Malik wasn't finished. He turned to Karen. Everyone's eyes followed. She stiffened, chin lifting, trying to summon the moral authority she believed she owned. I didn't mean to make this into a scene," she said, already defensive. "I just didn't know what kind of gathering this was. There were so many people. I didn't want things to get out of hand." There it was. The fear. Thinly covered. Barely disguised. Sharpened by assumption. Malik nodded once, not agreeing, just showing he heard her. "Karen," he said, voice even, "you've lived here longer than we have. You've had time to learn our names. You've seen me mow this lawn, shovel snow, wave to your husband every morning. You've walked past us dozens of times." She swallowed. "And after all of that," Malik continued, "today was the first day you spoke to us." Silence. Not heavy. Clear. Karen's eyes flickered, to the officers, to the guests, to the ground, looking for an exit that didn't make her look small. Malik didn't press. He didn't accuse. He didn't call her racist. He didn't need to. He simply spoke truth, the kind that cannot be argued with. "Before you saw joy," he said, "you saw danger." A murmur moved through the crowd. Soft, understanding, painful. Karen's face flushed. Not from embarrassment alone, but from realization, the kind that pricks something deep and involuntary. Ava squeezed Malik's hand, not to guide him, but to stand beside him. Malik's voice softened. Not weaker, but warmer. "This is my home," he said. "This is our family, our friends, our community. You are our neighbor. We are not strangers. But we can't become neighbors if you never try to know us." Karen's breath trembled. Faintly, but enough. Malik stepped just half a step closer. Not into her space, just toward her. The way you do when you open a door instead of closing one. "We're having a wedding," he said, the gentlest smile in his voice. "If you'd like to stay, there's a chair for you, and food, and room." The offer landed like a stone in still water. Not pity, not charity. Invitation. Karen looked at him. Really looked. And for the first time since she moved into that house 27 years ago, she seemed unsure of what she believed. Her voice was small. "I didn't bring anything." Malik nodded, smile soft. "You just need to bring yourself." Her throat worked once, and she lowered her eyes, not in defeat, but in something more human. Humility. The wedding resumed. The music returned. Ava walked down the aisle, and Karen took a seat in the very back row, hands folded, quiet, watching a world she had never tried to understand begin to open. The music returned as softly as it had left, flowing through the yard like a warm breeze. Everyone exhaled at once. Shoulders loosened, faces softened. Children resumed their small, clumsy games. Life continued, not ignoring what had happened, but carrying it with new awareness. Ava reached Malik at the altar, her father kissing her forehead before sitting down, emotion resting at the corners of his eyes. Malik and Ava stood hand in hand, exactly where they were meant to be, as if the interruption was always part of the story, a test of something real. The officiant smiled gently and began speaking. Words about commitment, about partnership, about love that lasts when life changes shape. Guests listened, attentive, grateful to have witnessed something honest rather than polished. Then came time for vows. A hush settled again, but this time it was full, not tense. Malik turned to Ava, his hands steady around hers, his voice low but clear enough that even those in the back row, including Karen, could hear every word. "Ava," he began, I've loved you since the first time you told me that I didn't have to earn a place in your life. You made room for me before I ever knew how to make room for myself. A soft ripple of warmth spread through the crowd. You have seen me angry. You have seen me tired. You have seen me fail. And you have stayed. You taught me that love isn't something you hold with tight fists. It's something you hold with open hands. Ava's breath shook, her smile trembling in the way joy sometimes does before it becomes tears. And today, standing here, surrounded by the people we love, he continued, I want to promise you something simple. He paused, breathing slowly, letting the moment take shape. I will never let fear decide who we are. The words were gentle, but they struck. Even at the back row, especially there. Karen's shoulders softened. Aaron's. Her eyes lowered, not from shame, but from understanding. The kind that takes root slow and deep. Malik went on, voice still soft, still steady. This world will not always welcome us. It will test us. It will try to make us smaller. But we will answer with love. Not the quiet love that hides. The brave love that stands. A hush rolled across the yard. Reverent. Full. I promise to stand beside you. To speak when silence would hurt us. To listen when pride would talk for me. And to love you, not as a feeling, but as a choice I will make every day. A tear slid down Ava's cheek. Not sadness, but recognition. The officiant smiled. Ava spoke her vows, voice trembling through laughter and tears, promising joy, stubborn loyalty, and partnership that felt like breathing. When they exchanged rings, the crowd leaned closer, like the air itself wanted to remember the moment. When they kissed, applause rose, not loud and rowdy, but full-bodied and warm, like a blanket pulled over everyone present. Karen sat very still. She didn't hide her tears. She didn't wipe them. She let them fall. Because something inside her, something rigid and old, had finally started to melt. And for the first time in a very long time, she wasn't sure if she had been protecting her peace or just protecting her prejudice. The sun had dipped low enough that the lights strung across the backyard began to glow brighter, small, warm halos floating above the tables. Guests were laughing again, plates clinking, children chasing bubbles near the fence. Music played softly, something slow and familiar. Malik and Ava stood together near the refreshments table, greeting guests as they approached to congratulate them. There was joy on Malik's face now, the easy kind, the kind that sits in the chest rather than just the smile. Karen hadn't moved from her seat. She had sat through the entire ceremony motionless, hands folded in her lap, shoulders drawn tight like fabric gathered too close. When the applause faded and everyone rose, she didn't stand. She waited until the crowd drifted to food and flowers and toasts. Only when the attention was elsewhere did she rise slowly, smoothing the front of her cardigan as if searching for steadiness in the gesture. She walked carefully across the lawn, footsteps heavy with the weight of her own understanding. When she reached Malik and Ava, she stopped a few steps away, close enough to speak, far enough not to assume welcome. Ava turned first, not wary, just present, and Malik followed. Karen didn't look at the officers or the guests or the tables, only at Malik. Her voice came out quiet, restrained, and older than it had sounded earlier. I didn't think, she began, then stopped. The next words were harder. No, I did think. I thought things I had no right to think. Malik didn't move to comfort her. He didn't soften the moment. He simply listened. Karen swallowed, eyes shining with something she didn't try to blink away. I saw a gathering, and I didn't ask. I didn't speak to you. I didn't meet you. I just assumed something bad. And I told myself I was protecting the neighborhood. But I was only protecting what I already believed. Her voice cracked, just once. Not dramatic, not fragile, just human. Ava watched her with the deep stillness of someone who has seen harm and grace in equal measure. Karen turned to her next. And I interrupted your wedding day. Something you'll remember forever. I can't undo that. Silence. But not cold. Not anymore. Malik stepped closer, not to close the distance, but to acknowledge it. You can't undo it, he said softly, but you can decide what comes after. Karen's shoulders trembled. The smallest movement, but honest. I don't know how to start, she whispered. Ava spoke then, her voice calm, steady, warm. You just did. Karen pressed a hand to her mouth, not to hide crying, but because emotion had finally found a way out. She looked at Malik again, eyes raw. Thank you, she said, for not humiliating me, for not meeting hate with hate. Malik's expression didn't shift into forgiveness, because forgiveness is not a switch, it's a path. I didn't speak for you, he said. I spoke for everyone watching, including myself. Karen nodded, and something inside her, something rigid and silent for decades, bent for the first time. I'd like to know you, she said. For real, if you'll let me. This time Malik did smile, slow, small, and genuine. You're welcome at our table, he said. Whenever you're ready to sit. Karen exhaled, a sound that carried years of unspoken armor falling away. Congratulations, she said softly to them both. She stepped back, not out of distance, but out of respect, and returned to her seat quietly, holding something new. Not guilt, not shame, but responsibility. Ava leaned lightly into Malik's shoulder. You okay, she asked. He let out a breath, long, steady. Yeah, he said. I am now. And the wedding continued, not perfect, not unbroken, but real, which is what makes things stay. As evening settled, the backyard glowed in warm yellow light. The celebration didn't turn loud or wild. It deepened. Laughter felt fuller. Conversations lingered longer. People who'd come expecting just a ceremony found themselves part of something larger. The officers stayed for a few minutes, accepted a slice of cake, and quietly slipped out, leaving behind not tension, but a sense of closure. Ava danced with her father under the string lights. Children twirled napkins like ribbons. Malik greeted uncles and old school friends, accepting blessings, embraces, teasing. There was no grand speech, no dramatic toast, just moments. Small, gentle, real. Karen sat alone at the edge of the lawn for a while. No one avoided her. No one hovered either. The space around her wasn't exile, it was reflection. Eventually, an older woman from Ava's family, her aunt, sat beside her. No introduction, no forced conversation, just company. Karen didn't realize how much she needed that until her shoulders softened. Later, she found herself helping serve cake to children who had no hesitation welcoming her into their small world of sticky hands and giggles. It was simple. It was ordinary. It was more healing than any apology could have been. Across the yard, Malik watched this unfold, not with triumph, but with quiet gratitude. Ava slipped her hand into his. She's trying, Ava said. Malik nodded. That matters. They stood together like that, not speaking, just breathing the same evening air. Husband and wife now. Their love not untouched by the world, but strengthened by how they met it. When the last song played, guests gathered near the arch again. No one wanted to leave just yet. Someone began a soft chorus, not rehearsed, not planned. Voices joined, uneven but sincere. The sound rose into the night like a blessing. And Karen, standing at the very back, hands clasped lightly, found herself singing too. Not loudly, not confidently, but honestly. After the final notes faded, Malik and Ava walked her to the gate. No symbolic gestures, no dramatics, just presence. Karen stopped before stepping through. I can't change the years behind me, she said, but I can change the years ahead. Malik didn't answer with words. He just nodded, the kind of nod one gives when a truth finally lands in the right place. Ava offered a small, warm smile. We'll see you tomorrow. Karen blinked. Tomorrow? For leftovers, Ava said with a light laugh. No one should cook the day after a wedding. Karen let out a soft breath, something like a laugh, something like a sob, and nodded. I'll come, she whispered. And she walked home, not to retreat, but to begin again. The lights in the yard flickered. Malik and Ava turned back toward their families and friends, their hands intertwined. Not as two people stepping into a perfect life, but as two people choosing to walk forward with love that stands. Not loud love, not fragile love, steady love. The kind that changes neighborhoods, the kind that changes people, the kind that lasts.